Hi dear, welcome back to Timeless Wisdom. Have you ever stepped into a room and felt completely unseen? As if you're physically there, yet somehow everyone just overlooks you. Maybe you're talking, smiling, sharing your thoughts, but your words seem to disappear into thin air. If this feels familiar, here's something important to remember. You're not imagining it. You're not overreacting. And you're far from alone. For many women, life changes after turning 55. Conversations grow shorter. Interruptions happen more often. Younger voices draw more attention. And quietly, almost imperceptibly, a heavy feeling settles in your heart. That maybe you've become invisible. But here's the truth. It's not about age alone. It's about how society views women who have devoted decades to their families, careers, and communities, only to be pushed aside, not because their worth has faded, but because society has failed to honor it. This message isn't just about calling out that injustice. It's about taking back your space. It's about finding your voice again, the voice that's always been there, strong, wise, and ready to be heard. Because regardless of what others see or fail to see, you matter. Your voice matters, and your journey is far from over. So if you've ever felt invisible, stick with me. Today, we'll talk about how to help you feel truly seen again, not by the outside world, but most importantly, by yourself. 1. The invisible wall. There comes a moment in many women's lives, usually sometime after 55, when the world seems to get quieter around them. Not in a peaceful, relaxing way, but in a way that feels like distance. You walk into a room and conversations do not pause like they used to. You speak, but people talk over you or smile politely and move on. You start to notice that your ideas are no longer asked for the way they once were. And when you share your thoughts, they land softly, barely making a sound. It is a strange and painful thing to be present, and yet feel like you are fading. This quiet fading is not sudden. It creeps in slowly over years, disguised as busyness, or as your children growing up, or as retirement. But what it really is deep down is something far more powerful. The world beginning to look past you, not because you have changed, but because the way the world treats women as they age begins to shift. And no one ever warns you about this part. You were once the center of your home, your workplace, your community. You were asked to lead, to nurture, to solve problems, to give advice. Your words had weight, your presence had power. But then slowly, without doing anything wrong, that spotlight moves. It moves to younger voices, to newer faces, to energy that looks different from yours. And somewhere in that process, you begin to feel invisible. Now let me be clear, this is not about vanity. It is not about wanting to be praised or adored. This is about something deeper. This is about identity, worth, and presence. It is about a woman realizing that she still has so much to give, so much to say, and yet the world is no longer listening with the same attention it once gave her. That is the invisible wall. It is not something you can touch. It is not something anyone talks about openly. But if you are a woman over 55, you have likely felt it. You're still here, fully, beautifully, wonderfully here. But something about the way others treat you makes you feel smaller, quieter, even unnecessary. And that feeling, it can take root in your heart and make you start to believe that maybe your time has passed. But I want to pause here and tell you something important. That feeling of invisibility, it is not your fault. You did not cause it. And most importantly, it is not the truth. The truth is that you have more voice, more wisdom, and more power than ever before. But our society is not built to celebrate that. Our culture clings to youth, to speed, to newness. It does not know what to do with a woman who no longer needs to prove herself, who has lived deeply and who now stands in quiet confidence. And so, instead of honoring you, it overlooks you. That is where the hurt begins. but it is also where the healing can start. Because while the world may have turned down its volume on your presence, you do not have to turn down your own. You do not have to agree with the lie that your voice no longer matters. In fact, your voice now carries more meaning, more history, more richness than ever before. You have lived, and in living, you have earned the right to be seen fully and clearly, without apology. So if you have felt the invisible wall, I see you. If you have felt the shrinking space around your words, I understand you. And if you have started to question your place in this noisy, fast-moving world, let this be a gentle reminder. Your story is not over, not even close. You do not need to fade quietly. You do not need to wait for permission to speak. You have already lived through enough to know your worth, and now it is time to reclaim the space that is rightfully yours. 2. Why you feel invisible. You may have asked yourself quietly, even painfully, why do I feel like I'm disappearing? And when no one around you seems to notice, it can make you wonder if it is all in your head. But I want you to hear this clearly. It is not in your head. There is a reason you feel this way. There is a reason so many women, especially after the age of 55, feel less seen, less heard, and less valued. And that reason has little to do with who you are and everything to do with what society teaches us about women and aging. From the time we are young, we are told in subtle ways and in obvious ones that a woman's worth is connected to how she looks, how much she gives, and how pleasing she is to others. We are taught to smile even when we are tired, to say yes even when we want to say no, and to be nurturing, quiet, supportive. And while those qualities are not wrong, when they become the only things we are celebrated for, something dangerous happens. We begin to believe that our value comes only from what we offer others, not from who we truly are. Then comes the aging process. Our faces begin to change, our bodies slow down, our roles shift. We are no longer raising children, no longer climbing ladders at work, no longer needed in the same urgent way. And the things we were once praised for, our beauty, our energy, our productivity, start to fade in the world's eyes. But instead of honouring the wisdom that comes with those changes, society turns away. Advertisements stop speaking to us. Television shows no longer reflect our lives. The fashion industry pretends we do not exist. And slowly the message becomes clear. You are no longer relevant. This is not just a cultural oversight. It is a deep, painful form of erasure. Because what the world fails to recognize is that as women age, we do not become less. We become more. More layered, more thoughtful, more discerning. We have experienced life in all its complexity. We have raised families, managed homes, built careers, cared for aging parents, survived heartbreak, faced illness, endured loss, and kept going. We are not fading, we are transforming. But when you live in a culture that does not value that transformation, you begin to question your own worth. You stop sharing your opinion because it feels like no one is listening. You avoid mirrors because they no longer reflect the woman you were once told to be. You silence your needs because they feel inconvenient, and over time you lose connection with your own voice. This is why invisibility after 55 is not just a social problem, it is an emotional and spiritual one. It touches your sense of identity, it reaches into your confidence, and it slowly convinces you that maybe this is just how life works now, that maybe you have had your time and now it is time to step back, stay quiet, and not take up too much space. But let me say something that may feel uncomfortable but needs to be said. That idea is a lie. A deeply ingrained, socially reinforced lie that was never meant to serve you. You have not aged out of value. You have not missed your chance. You're not in life's background. You're still here, wiser, stronger, and more fully yourself than ever before. You may feel invisible because people stopped asking you questions, because your name is no longer at the center of family plans, because younger co-workers talk over you, because doctors speak to your children instead of directly to you. All of those moments send a message that says you do not matter like you used to. And even though you know better in your heart, hearing that message over and over can wear you down. But here is what I want you to remember. You still know who you are beneath the layers of silence and fatigue. Your voice is still there. It has not left you. It has been waiting quietly, patiently, for you to reach for it again. This part of your life is not a closing chapter. It is a powerful beginning, because now you speak not to impress, but to express. You act not to prove, but to live with purpose. You no longer need to be everything for everyone. You just need to be fully, unapologetically, beautifully yourself. So if you have been wondering why you feel invisible, know that the world may have stopped looking, but that does not mean you are any less worth seeing. You have more to say than ever before. And in the next part, we will talk about how to reclaim your voice, not just in the eyes of others, but in your own heart. 3. Reclaiming your voice. Now that we have named the invisible wall and understood why it exists, it is time to talk about something far more important. How to reclaim your voice. Not the voice you used to have when you were 20 or 30, or even 40, but the voice you have now. The voice that has lived through decades of experience. The voice that carries the sound of survival, of wisdom, of truth. Reclaiming your voice does not mean shouting or demanding attention. It does not mean forcing people to listen. It means reconnecting with the part of you that knows who you are, the part that was never lost, only quieted. It means choosing to be present, to speak with honesty, and to honor your own perspective, even if the world around you is still learning how to listen. The first step in reclaiming your voice is this. You have to give yourself permission. That may sound simple, but for many women it is the hardest part. For so long, we have asked for permission from others. Permission to feel, to speak, to lead, to take up space. We have been trained to wait our turn, to be polite, to not interrupt, to not make a scene. But the truth is, your voice is not something you need to earn. It is already yours. So take a moment right now and say silently or aloud, I give myself permission to speak. I give myself permission to be heard. I give myself permission to matter. The next step is even more powerful. Begin speaking again, even if your voice trembles. Start with small things. Speak honestly in conversations. Share your opinion even when no one asks. Say no when you mean no, and yes when it truly feels right. Write down your thoughts. Tell your story, even just to yourself, because the more you speak your truth, the stronger that voice becomes. Another part of reclaiming your voice is remembering who you were before the world told you to be quiet. Who were you when you felt most alive? What brought you joy before life got so busy? Before you were defined by your roles? Mother, wife, caretaker, employee? That version of you still lives inside. She may have been buried under responsibilities, but she never stopped existing. It is not too late to reconnect with her. Try something creative. Write, paint, sing, plant something, dance. You do not need to be good at it. You just need to remember what it feels like to create something for yourself. When you create, you awaken a part of your voice that goes beyond words. It is the voice of expression of being alive. You also need to surround yourself with women who see you. Not just women your age, but women who respect where you are in your journey. Women who want to listen, who want to share, who want to grow together. Because one of the most powerful ways to strengthen your voice is to hear it reflected back in someone else's understanding eyes. If you cannot find those women in your immediate circle, go looking. Join a book club, start a walking group, find online communities, volunteer, reach out. You are not alone, even if it feels like it sometimes. There are so many women walking the same path, quietly wondering if their voices still matter. You could be the spark that helps them remember too. And finally, reclaiming your voice means letting go of apology. For too long, we have apologized for taking up space, for being too loud, for having opinions, for aging. But there is nothing to apologize for. You are not an interruption. You are a contribution. You are not too much. You're exactly enough. You do not need to shrink. You have every right to expand. This journey is not about going back to who you used to be. It is about becoming more fully who you have always been. It is about speaking with the strength that only time can give. It is about honoring your experiences, your grief, your laughter, your truth, all of it. Your voice is not gone. It is simply waiting. Waiting for you to remember that it belongs to you. No one else gets to define it. No one else gets to silence it. And when you choose to speak again, the world becomes a little wiser for it. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not finished. You're rising. And your voice in this chapter of life may just be the most powerful it has ever been. 4. A letter to every woman who has felt forgotten. Dear beautiful woman reading this, if you have ever felt invisible, overlooked, or quietly pushed to the side, I want you to know this letter was written for you. It does not matter where you live, what your background is, or what your life has looked like up to this point. If there is a part of you that has ever wondered, do I still matter? Let me answer you now with every ounce of certainty I have. Yes, you do. You absolutely do. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not past your time. The world may not always see you clearly, but that does not mean your light is any less bright. It just means the world has been looking in the wrong direction. You have spent years, maybe decades, pouring yourself into others. You have carried families, held space for friends, given your best at work, in your home and in your community. You have held people through their hardest seasons, made sacrifices quietly, and found strength on days when it felt impossible. And while much of that may have gone unrecognized, none of it is wasted. Every bit of love, every act of care, every tear you wiped, it all lives inside you. It is part of your story. It is part of your power. And yes, there may be days when you feel like your reflection is changing faster than your heart is ready for. Days when your phone is silent, the house feels too quiet, and the people around you seem to have moved on. But those moments do not mean you are no longer needed. They simply mean that this season of your life is calling for something new, not less, just different. This is the season where you turn your love and attention inward, where you finally have space to ask yourself, what do I need? And actually listen to the answer. It is where you rediscover parts of yourself that have been waiting patiently for your return. The artist, the dreamer, the traveler, the woman with bold thoughts and deep questions. The woman who laughs loudly and cries honestly. The woman who still has so much to offer. You are not broken. You are becoming. Becoming softer in some ways, stronger in others. Becoming someone who no longer chases approval, but walks in her own truth. Becoming someone who sets boundaries, says what she means, and knows what she is worth. Not because someone told her, but because she finally believes it for herself. If you have ever been made to feel like you take up too much space, let me say this. Take up more. Stretch out your arms. Fill the room with your presence. You have every right to be here. Your wisdom is needed. Your stories are sacred. Your laughter heals. Your love teaches. You are not someone the world should move past. You are someone the world desperately needs to move toward. You are not behind. You're not too late. You're exactly where you are meant to be. And there is still time. Time to create. Time to connect. Time to love. To begin again. To build something new. Time to rest. Not because you are giving up, but because you are preparing for something deeper. I know you may not hear this often enough, so I will say it plainly and from the heart. I see you. I respect you. I believe in you. And I am so grateful you are here reading these words, breathing deeply, daring to believe that maybe, just maybe, there is still more ahead for you. And not just more, but better. You still have something to say, something no one else on this earth can say the way you can. You've earned the right to be heard, not through noise or volume, but through presence and truth. You're a lighthouse now, not chasing the waves, but standing tall, shining your light so others can find their way home. So please do not shrink, do not settle, and do not silence yourself. The world may have tried to quiet you, but you were never meant to live quietly. You were meant to rise, to speak, to lead, to love, to be. You belong here now more than ever. With all my heart, thank you for being exactly who you are. Your next step. You have made it to this point in the video, and that tells me something powerful about you. You're not just watching, you're listening. Not to me, but to something inside of yourself, something that has been quietly asking for space, something that is finally ready to rise again. Now I want to ask you something. What will you do with that voice? Not in a grand, overwhelming way, not with pressure or urgency, but with truth and intention. Because the truth is this moment, right here, right now, can be the beginning of something new, something more alive, something more you. You have already done so much in your life. You have cared for others, worked hard, survived storms, celebrated joys, and given your time, your energy, and your love without asking for anything in return. And now this chapter is not about proving anything. It is about reclaiming something, your voice, your space, your joy, yourself. So what does moving forward actually look like? Maybe it's finally picking up that journal you've been meaning to start. Maybe it's reaching out to someone with a simple call, just to say, I want to reconnect. Maybe it's finding the courage to speak up in a room where you'd usually stay quiet. Maybe it's joining a circle of women who share your journey and understand your path. Or maybe it's as simple and powerful as looking in the mirror and saying, I still matter. Because you absolutely do. And here's the part I hope sinks in deeply. You don't have to take this next step alone. That's exactly why this space exists. This channel, Timeless Wisdom. This community. Timeless wisdom isn't just about content, it's about connection, truth, and celebration. It's for women who refuse to fade quietly into the background and who are ready to step boldly back into the light. If anything in this video touched your heart, whether a single sentence or a feeling, I invite you to take one small step today. Not for me, but for yourself. Leave a comment, share your truth, say, I still have something to say. Or share a part of your story, because your words might be exactly the spark another woman needs. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Not to grow numbers, but because this space is made for you, and we're just getting started. Share this video with someone who needs to remember her worth. A sister, a friend, a mother, a neighbour. You never know who might be quietly wondering if her voice still matters. And your sharing could be the light that helps her find her way back to herself. Most importantly, take a moment just for you. Sit in stillness. No distractions, no noise. Just you, your breath, and your truth. Ask yourself, what do I want the rest of my life to sound like? And whatever answer comes, trust it. This is not the end. It's the start of a new way of living. A life where you no longer wait to be chosen, seen, or invited. A life where you walk with your head held high, your voice steady, and your spirit full. You are not invisible. You are powerful. You are still becoming. And we're here with you, every step of the way. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Until next time, take care of your voice and let it be heard at Timeless Wisdom.